Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, a podcast devoted to helping you take your message, your business, and your life to the next level. This, my friends, is episode number 456, and I am your host, Cliff Ravenscraft, the podcast answer man. And my friends, this week's episode, I have the most awesome guest I could possibly have, my lovely wife, Stephanie Ravenscraft. Stephanie, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am doing exceptionally well. Thank you very much. I wanted to invite Stephanie to come into the studio with me to talk about our experience with Tony Robbins' event, Unleash the Power Within. This is something that she experienced with me. Let's jump right into Tony Robbins. Before this past weekend, before going to Dallas, what had you ever heard of or known about Tony Robbins? Anything?
No. I kept telling you I know that name.
Okay.
But I couldn't place I couldn't tell you anything that I had heard about him or that I had known. I just recognized the name.
That's it. Didn't know what that name was attributed to.
No.
You just
tried
heard the
to
name.
get me to watch some 35-minute YouTube video, and I was like, I'm bored, I'm out.
Yep. When I came to you about this conference, from your perspective, how did I approach you? What did I say?
So I think it was a text message.
Okay.
That you had texted me, what do you think about this event? And you had sent some details on Unleashing the Power Within. And you had said that Ray recommended it. He recommended if we go, that we both go so that we share the same language. And that you looked at it, you're really interested, and it's happening in a couple of months in Dallas.
Right.
So I look at the dates and I'm like, okay, 3 days, I can do that. And then I open my calendar after I've already said yes.
Okay.
And you've purchased the tickets because you don't waste any time.
I don't. Hey, I make a decision. We go.
He didn't waste any time. So then I open up my calendar. I'm like, crap, that's 4 days. And he comes up and he's like, and that's a day of travel before and after. And I'm like, crap, now that's 6 days. I didn't sign up for this. And leaving the kids for that amount of time started causing me stress.
Right.
Straight away. From the minute I wrote Dallas in my calendar.
Okay.
For 6 days.
Right. So you're going into this event. And
I don't want to go.
And you don't want to go.
I don't want to go.
But
I've
outside of the stress with the kids, was there anything else why you didn't want to go?
I think you told me maybe 10 days before we flew out that, oh, by the way, you're going to walk on fire.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, by the way, you're full of crap. So then I'm like, not only do I not want to go, how honest can I be in what I want to say here?
Baby.
What the hell has he gotten me into?
You can say whatever you want, and if you happen to curse, I'll bleep you out.
Okay. So now I don't want to go. I don't want to leave my kids. I've been in a matter of 6 weeks. I've been to Iowa for a week. I've been to Atlanta for 2 days. I've done a lot of traveling already this summer. I don't want to leave again for 6 days. I don't want to leave the kids. I don't want to call my mom and ask her if she can watch the kids. I don't.
Yep.
I don't want to, is what I am plagued with. And then you tell me I'm going to walk, and then I just think you're crazy.
So the walking on fire kind of pushed you over the edge.
I still didn't research. I still didn't, because I honestly thought that if I gave myself anything else other than those two things, that it would have made more of a negative impact on my
mindset going in.
Yes. My pregame mindset.
Yes. So it's fair to say that leading up to the event, even traveling to the event, you're going in with would you say a very negative attitude towards it?
I don't even know if negative is the right word. I think it's just indifferent.
Skeptical?
I was very skeptical.
Skeptical of what?
I don't think I was skeptical until a couple of days before, and you read me, the concerned listeners, thing before you and Ray recorded.
Yes. So
and so then after that feedback came in, and then I'm like, he really is crazy.
I really am.
He really is crazy. And then I'm thinking, but I like Ray. And I've never had any I lean strongly on the discernment that God has given me.
Yep.
And I've never had any weird vibes from Ray. I like Ray. He's a good man.
Yeah.
He is. So now they're both crazy?
Ray's pretty crazy too.
I think they're both crazy.
And I think you already knew at the time that I had told you that Michael and Gail had done this as well.
Right. And Michael and Gail. And I highly respect both of them.
And they're not crazy.
Well, now they are.
Cliff, yes. Ray, probably.
Now they are.
Michael and Gail?
So I went in holding to the fact that I knew personally 3 people that I love and respect had done this. And I don't view them as crazy. But I was still...
I love that. Those 3 you love and respect, and I
love and respect you, but you are crazy. I live with you on a daily basis. I see them once every couple of years.
I love that.
And so I was still going in skeptical and indifferent, and I did not want to be away from my kids.
Yep. And I also shared with you the advice that Michael had sent to me prior to going.
I don't think you shared that until I was on the plane.
Right, but I had shared it.
You had, I'm sure you had written down in your notes how to when I can give Stephanie information when.
Yes.
I can't lay all my cards on the table right now.
Yeah, I have to wait. Let's get her on the plane first.
Let's show her 3 days and then tell her 6. Let's slowly ease her into it.
Yeah. So, okay.
So that's why you bought me first class tickets, wasn't it? It was to butter me up before you laid some more crazy stuff on me.
I bought you first class tickets, booked us a super awesome hotel, and planned to take you out to dinner to a very nice establishment.
Which we did.
I planned all of that because I'm madly in love with you and you're worth it.
Thank you. It was it was incredible, and now you have a standard to live up to.
I know. So. Stephanie told me on the way back, I'm never flying coach again.
I'm not flying coach again. I will be sitting in first class while my children are in coach with someone else.
That is hilarious.
Yes.
Okay, so now everybody has a feeling of your thoughts moving into the event.
Okay.
All right. Now what I want to know, let's talk about just the first day. All right. First day, all the way through the fire walk. How's that first day for you?
Okay. Didn't we start later in the day that day?
Yeah, the first day started at 12:30 in the afternoon.
Okay. So we had plenty of time to get up and get ready, and we weren't rushed or anything. And is that actually true? Or no, we went over early so we could get seats. So we sat there for 4 hours, right? So now I'm sitting in this huge area. We had fairly good seats. So we're just sitting there and people are coming in and I want to be here. How rude is it if I know my ticket cost a lot of money, but how rude is it if I just say I need to go. I just don't want to be here.
Right.
And once it got started, the music is playing there and you had asked me to, that Michael asked us to
play full out. And aside from the jumping up and down, which I cannot physically do, the first day I played full out. Yep.
And it was good. It was good. He had Tony Robbins has an energy that is absolutely contagious.
Yes.
You can feel it when he's present. And the information that first night, I absolutely loved. It was a lot of the mind over matter, and what you focus on is what will happen. And it's all written down in my notes, which I'm going to look over when I get back from Chicago. And then the last 3.5 hours of the evening is preparing for the firewalk.
Yep.
And I was very well engaged and enjoyed day one.
So day one was the firewalk. I want to know what your experience was with the firewalk.
Okay. So they prepare you for 3.5 hours to do this, which I thought was hilarious that they spent that much time really getting you into the right mindset, but also necessary. So it's time. Take off your shoes, roll up your pants, and we start heading out. And okay, I'm only 5'3" and a half, but the half doesn't really count when you are in a crowd of people who are taller than you. Because there comes a point when you can't see anywhere above anyone's shoulders and you're can't breathe because, they're all blocking the fresh air from coming down to, near the ground where you are. And so I'm in this crowd feeling like cattle being herded off to the slaughter. And I can't breathe, and it's messing with me. It's Dallas. It's hot. I'm barefoot. I hate being on grass and gravel, and I hate it. So I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking about the things that they have told you that that you need to focus on. Because what you focus on is what's going to happen, and all this. And the whole crowd is chanting, "Yes, yes." Yeah, and it has an energy to it. You can, it's like the yeses were an actual heartbeat of their own.
Yep.
And so I'm standing in this crowd. I can't breathe. I can't see over anyone. Have no idea where I'm at in line because I can't see over top of anyone. It's dark outside. It's like 10:30 in the evening. The greatest enjoyment I got while standing in that line was watching the people who were in the window of the Omni Hotel that was next to us, watching us stand like herded cattle. And so I'm sitting there, and every time I say yes, I think no. Straight up. Yep. I'm like, I'm going to be the one person out of all of these people that is like burnt down to the stubs, and I'm going to have to fly home with no feet. And like, this is how I'm going to spend the rest of my life because my husband was stupid enough to drag me to this when he knew I didn't want to go. And dang, Ray Edwards is no longer my friend because this is going to be the end. Straight up. That's where I was. I was not... Like, I don't know. I teeter-tottered back and forth between the, yes, I can do this. I've got this. I'm a bad I am going to walk across this fire. I am going to own this place. And whatever. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. I don't even care. I'm not afraid of it. I just don't want to do it. And then I'm like, you know what? I've survived sexual abuse. I've survived neglectful parents. I've survived, I'm naming off all of these things that I have overcome in my life. I'm like, I can walk on fire. You know why? Because I'm a bad bitch. I'm not afraid of the fire. I just don't want to do it. I can't breathe. It's hot out here. I'm standing in grass. I hate grass. People can't even understand. I'm itching talking about it because literally the feeling of grass makes my skin crawl. Been that way since I was a little girl. I was a teeny little baby. My mom couldn't put me in the grass because I would scream my head. I hate the feeling of grass. It's the most disgusting thing ever. Ugh. And so I'm standing in this grass and I'm barefoot and I can feel it and they're telling me to focus and and so I get up to it. I'm standing in the grass, which obviously means my turn's close because
yep.
Okay. And still, yes, no, yes, no. Yes, I can do this. I don't want to. Yes, whatever. And the lady says, when he tells you to go, go. He'll know when you're ready. You're crazy. All of these people are crazy, and I no longer trust anyone in my life. And y'all are crazy. Crazy. And I'm standing there, and I'm holding my sweater because it's freezing cold in the convention center, and I walked outside wearing my sweater, and then I'm like... whatever, it's June in Dallas. It ain't cold out here. So I'm holding this big sweater, which is actually my kids call a security blanket, which is kind of funny that it ended up being with me in this moment.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm holding this sweater and I'm not looking down. I'm looking up and I'm saying yes. And I'm thinking no. And I'm like, y'all are full of... And I bleeped myself there. Did you like that? You
did good.
Thanks. And
that almost sounded like I edited it out.
Yeah, you didn't, though. I just stopped myself.
That was no editing necessary. That was awesome.
And I hear him say, okay, you're ready. Go. And I walk. I'm still saying yes. And the next thing I know, I'm standing in mud, which is worse than grass. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. I did it. You know why? Because I'm a badass. I remember the feeling of the coals. I remember the texture of the coals. I don't remember the heat. But I ended up on the other side.
With burnt stumps.
With my unburnt feet.
No burns.
No burns.
Whatsoever.
No.
Awesome.
So there's my firewalking story. Did you like that? That was good.
No, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted the absolute authentic, and I did not expect anything less than what you just gave. That was Stephanie's experience.
It was.
When it comes to the firewalk for me, I had no fear whatsoever. I first heard about the firewalk probably about 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, from Michael Hyatt.
Okay.
I'm sitting in his office. He tells me we were talking about events. He was telling me about his experience, his and Gail's experience at a Tony Robbins event. And I'm like, really? What's that like? And he tells me about these different things. He says, and there's a fire walk. And I'm like, fire walk? I'm intrigued. Tell me more. And like
that wasn't the experience I had when you told me I was going to walk on fire.
Well, he didn't.
I wasn't intrigued.
Yeah, but so he tells me about it. I'm like, it's real. I mean, just real fiery hot. Yeah, absolutely, real fiery hot coals, and you walk across them. I'm like, wow, that blows my mind. He says, but it's a. He was explaining it's a metaphor, but he's like, people have done this for thousands of years, and so I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I tucked that away, and I remember when Michael told me that. I'm thinking, and he told me how much money he spent to go to this event for him and Gail, or actually how much money it cost. As I'm thinking about the cost of a Tony Robbins event such as this, couple years back, my mindset was different then than it is now. I'm like, I'd never be able to afford that. I can't imagine that I would ever go, let alone take Stephanie. So I just tucked that away, and it's gone. And as a result of Michael talking about Tony Robbins, I start perking up every time I hear the name Tony Robbins. And whenever I see content come by, YouTube video or whatever, I pay attention to it. I read it. I watch it. And then, fast forward, Ray tells me, doing what you're thinking about doing, I think it'd be very beneficial. I think you should think about going to Unleash the Power Within event, Tony Robbins' event. And I said, well, if I go, do you think I should take Stephanie? And he goes, I don't think it's absolutely required that she go, but if you take her, it will be extremely beneficial. You guys will be on the same page, and you'll be able to share a lot of the same language. It was a significant investment. One we had the money for, but money that, quite honestly, was planned to be used elsewhere in the business. So it was reallocated for this. And I just told Ray, I said, I'll think about it. I said, I'll pray about when the timetable is. I agree that it seems like to me it's the right thing to do to go to this event. I'll pray about the timetable. And then the more it just laid on my heart, I'm like, okay, I need to ask Stephanie, look up the dates. Oh, we're available. We could make this happen. Let's do this if Stephanie says yes. And that's where, you've already covered all that. So, and Ray tells me about the firewalk, and it's like, oh crap, I forgot about the firewalk. But Ray says he's done it and, didn't get burned. And it is my thinking is exactly what you thought. It's like, listen, I trust and respect these guys immensely. These three individuals, Mike and Gail Hyatt, Ray Edwards, if they say they've done it, they did not get burned, and they have all pretty much assumed that, hey, you could do this. It's insinuated that you could do this, and it'll be an experience you'll never forget. It's something that you'll always be able to say you've done. It's an exciting thing. And so I adopted that mindset. It's a done deal. I'm not going to get burned. And the fact that hundreds of thousands of people have been doing this for thousands of years, and people don't get burned, and this is no big deal. So for me, there was no fear. While this firewalking is meant to be a metaphor for a lot of things, and one of those metaphors is conquering fear. For me, it wasn't necessarily that, because I had zero fear, zero anxiety about walking over those coals. I just knew I was going to do it, and I knew I was going to end up on the other side without burned feet. That I had that much faith and confidence that that's the way it was going to work out. And of course, my experience is that is exactly how it turned out. So here's the deal. There are some people out there that will have all kinds of scientific explanations as to why you don't get burned. Tony will tell you that it's where you put your focus, and if you focus, you tell your mind not to think about the coals and stuff like that, you won't get burned. That you can do this. Your body will do whatever it takes to protect you. And there, of course, you can read a Wikipedia article about firewalking, and it tells you that the reason why it works and you don't get burned is because there's a certain amount of moisture in your feet, and as it evaporates, it's protecting you. It's putting a barrier between you and the fiery hot coals, and also that the coals are a poor conductor of heat and blah, 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 blah. But in this event, you probably have, I'm sure that most everybody who has been listening for the last 2 weeks probably saw the news because it's been reported around the world. Somebody in Australia sent me a screen capture on Snapchat. It says, I just saw this on Australian news. Are you okay? And it's a report of 30 people who got burned. So if you tell me that the reason why people don't get burned is because ash is a poor conductor, then how do you explain 30 people who did get burned? And by the way, I think only 7 people, 5 to 7 people went to the hospital. You're saying 5? Okay.
I don't think anyone went to the hospital. I think they sought further attention than what was provided by the conference, what was provided by Tony Robbins' team.
Yeah.
Someone called 911. This is happening. Tons of people are getting burned. 911 sent 4 ambulances. 5 of the 30 chose to be looked at by paramedics.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I don't think anyone did not return to the conference.
They all came back to the conference and finished the weekend. I do know that at least one person went to the hospital.
Okay.
And suffered, I think, 2nd-degree burns.
Okay.
But everybody, I mean, now they say 30 people were burned.
Is that the selfie person?
Yeah, I think it was the selfie person.
Okay.
Somebody stopped and took a selfie of themselves.
You earned your burns.
Well, anyway, the thing is, though, is they say 30 people got burned. Most of the people who got burned of the 30, we're talking a blister.
Right.
But here's the thing. The fire coals, they measure the heat. It was somewhere between 1,200 and 2,200 degrees. Mm-hmm. That's the heat of the coals. So the coals were hot. Some people got burned, and I'll tell you that for those people, they'll tell you it was a good conductor. And also, I personally talked to one person, and I had heard other secondhand accounts of people who had talked to some people who were burned, and every single one of them said the same thing, that they were not focused, they were looking down, and they were not in the right state of mind. Mm-hmm. And because they were not in the right state of mind, and they were focused on would they get burned, they got burned.
In fact, get burned.
Exactly. Right. So, but anyway, firewalking. I wrote down some notes for myself. Here are some things that I have. Number one, what does firewalking mean to me? I realized that I can accomplish things that I once thought was impossible. Now, I told you that I thought it was possible, but I only thought it was possible from the time Michael told me. But if you would have told me before Michael told me, Cliff, one day you're going to walk across a fiery hot bed of coals that are red hot and you're not going to get burned, I would have told you that's impossible. So there was a point in time where I thought what we did there would be impossible. And the interesting thing, and this is a metaphor of many areas of life, the things that we might fear and think are impossible, we can be convinced. And you even said this in your story, Stephanie. It's like, well, listen, I know my husband's crazy, but Ray Edwards said I can do this. And if Michael and Gail say this can be done, I trust them. And so I'm going to do it. And so that at least got you to the place where you stepped up to the flame, you know? You didn't have to walk out the door with everyone.
I know.
That was your decision, and not everybody did. There were 8,000 people at the conference, and 7,000 of the 8,000 did the firewalk. 1,000 people chose not to. The news media did the report on the 30 who got burned, but they failed to report the 7,970 people, 7,970 people who walked on fire and did not get burned, which is a pretty incredible thing. Anyway, so, but this metaphor is how many things that we might think are impossible, if you want to learn how to do things, to conquer the fear or to achieve things that you might think can't be done, find people who've already done it.
Right.
That you trust, and ask them about their experience and let that give you and build confidence into you. I love this, the importance of taking the first step. You take that first step, and I guarantee you, at least in fire, you're going to keep taking steps. The next thing it reminded me of, taking consistent, massive action, and how momentum gets you going. Once I started that first step, I was already off the coals before I realized I was walking on fire. It's like, wow, that was incredible. There's also the principle of visualizing yourself on the other side, already having achieved what you set out to do with the results that you expected to get. That's exactly one of the things that is a part of walking on this fire without getting burned. Don't focus on the fire. Don't focus on what could go wrong. focus on what you can and will achieve and getting the results that you desired. And also the reminder, when you're doing things, stop looking down. Stop focusing on the potential issues. Instead, always look up and forward. Look forward where you're going. That's where your focus needs to be. Firewalking. So so you finished the firewalk, all right? Let's just say the conference ended that night. How do you feel about the conference? Seriously, forget about day 2, 3, and 4. The firewalk.
It was incredible.
The firewalk ended. We go home the next day. If that were the conference, how would you say this? How would you rate this conference on a scale of 1 to 10? How would you rate it?
10.
What?
10.
Wait a second. You're somebody who did not want to go to this.
Yeah.
And at the end of the event, you rated a 10. And do you feel like you got anything more out of it than walking on fire?
I got a ton out of the first night.
Is there anything else that stands out in your mind right now?
Isn't day 1 when we talked about our needs and how there are 6 needs?
Yeah, the 6 human needs.
Wasn't that on? Yeah, the 6 human needs and how we'll do anything to fulfill those needs. People will give up on their dreams to fulfill their needs. Day 1 was incredible. I came off of day 1 saying, I've got to bring my kids.
You did.
I need my kids to know this information while they're young and moldable and not so cynical and cranky like I am.
You went from, I don't even care, I hate this, why am I here?
Well, I don't think I hated it. I just didn't want to be there.
You hated the fact that you were there.
Hate's a strong word, but yeah.
Okay. During day 1, you're having this 10 experience, thinking you're loving it so much, we have to bring our kids here.
Yes.
That's incredible.
I even wrote that down.
So, I mean, there is so much in this event. The first day was all about movement and energy and emotion.
Changing your physiology.
Changing your physiology, changing your language, and changing what you focus on. We can literally put ourselves in a beautiful state of mind anytime we want by changing our physiology, our focus, and our language.
Yes.
And just knowing that is an incredible thing. And what I wrote down in my notes as after I came home or on our way back, I wrote down that this is literally going to change my life in the area that I wanted personally to become a master in. I want to master the area of living in each moment and enjoying it for what it is. I've always struggled when I'm alone with the kids or family time and stuff like that. My mind is not there. I'm thinking about other things that I either have done and I'm worried about, circumstances, certainty, security, financial, or what am I getting, once we're finished here, what do I need to go do? And how long is this going to take before I can go get that thing done? And that's always been a struggle of mine. And it has been something I felt really terrible about. I made the decision that that's not going to be an issue for me anymore. And I don't know if it's any different for you, but man, I feel like my relationship with all 3 of my kids like radically changed like the second we got home, even before we got home. But just every personal interaction that I've had with our children since I've been back, it's different. Now, day 2 had tons of valuable information as well, lots of great insights, and I think we still had a positive experience. So let's just ask you this question. If we left at the end of day 2, and day 2 was the end of the conference, overall, what would you rate the conference on a scale of 1 to 10?
A 9.
A 9.
And here's why. A lot of this information that we were learning on day 2 was how to take these principles and apply them to your business.
It didn't seem as applicable to your circumstances.
And so it would drop after day 2, it would drop from a 10 to a 9. But I still enjoyed day 2 very much. I really liked Joseph. And again, I played full out and had a very good time. And it was a full day. Yep. It was
8:30 in the morning until like 11:30 at night or something like that.
No, he got us out an hour early. So it was still a 9. Crazy packed day, but it was a 9.
day 3, we don't know what day 3 is all about, except that, we've had 2 amazing days of this experience so far. Stephanie came out after day 1 with a 10. I came out of day 1 with a 10. Stephanie came out of day 2 with a 9. I still came out of day 2 with a 10. Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm excited. I said, Stephanie, if you don't mind, I'm going to go early and I'm going to stand in line and get seats. I want to get front row seats this time.
Right.
And so I did, and I got us, right up front. And what happened was Tony was back for day 3, and Tony likes his stadium.
He really is an alien.
He is an alien.
And his internal body temperature is like -15 below.
Yeah. So anyway, he requested extra air conditioning brought in, and they literally ran big, massive vents, 6 of them.
Here's the deal. The vents were so big, I could have crawled through them.
Yes.
Like my body would have fit in them.
Yes. And they actually ran them right in front of the stage, all 6 of them blowing directly at the front rows of
that you chose to sit
that
in.
I chose to sit in. And now, before we got up there, you walk into the venue, and it's already, and I'm not kidding you, this is no exaggeration, it's already like 60 degrees in there. But the air conditioning that was blowing out of these vents, I'm telling you, it's like 37 degrees.
It was, yeah.
Now, just to give you an idea, they know how cold it is. They warn you ahead of time. I even sent Stephanie that message. And we actually got a goodie bag. And in the goodie bag, they gave us 2 pairs of gloves.
Right.
All right. We were wearing our gloves. I went and bought a long sleeve shirt. I think it's probably marketing to sell their apparel, but
they need to sell blankets.
They should have sold blankets.
Do you know how much money they would make on
Yes.
day 3 with blankets?
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Oh my goodness.
But I'm telling you guys, I'm the type of person, I really don't ever complain about temperature. I never really complain.
I do. I don't like being cold.
Stephanie will complain about any coldness, but I typically would never be the type to complain. I had blue jeans on. I had a t-shirt on. I had another shirt with long sleeves that I had bought over top of it. I had gloves on, and I was literally, my teeth were chattering inside of my mouth. And
I only made it like 45 minutes.
I was shivering, and even though I had gloves on, I swear to you, my hands were turning blue.
I only made it in. I'm surprised that I made it that long, and it's probably because I walked to the venue from our hotel, so my body was warm and heated when I got there. After 45 minutes of sitting in front of the air vents, I got up and I went to sit along the side.
You did. You got up, and then I'm sitting there by myself. And here's the deal. Day 3 is like, it's supposed to be, it's actually the best day of the 3 days. I mean, the first 2 days are really warming you up to day 3. I mean, that's really what this is all about.
Absolutely, right.
Now, because you can't have day 3 without day 1 and 2. So day 3 is the big day. But I didn't know that. And all I know is that they're talking, they're up there, they're doing their thing. I can't focus. I'm so freaking cold.
Yes. So I know that while I'm sitting along the aisleways, that the crew are going to come make me move. It's a fire hazard. If the fire marshal came in, there would be fines. They're going to come make me move. I know that because someone told me that. One of the crew members said there will actually be someone coming around soon that's going to make you move. I said, that's great. I actually have 2 seats in the front row that I will trade anyone who's in the back for.
Yep.
In the back of our section.
Yes.
That we were. And Steven was like, where are they? I said, they're in the second row, right in front of those 6 blowers.
Yep. And it's freezing cold.
It is freezing cold up there.
If anybody says that they'll do the trade, just make sure that they know it is cold, and it's why we're giving those seats up.
And so Steven told a couple other of the, and so then they're looking for people who are back further in the back of our section who want to move up closer. It took probably like 30 minutes, maybe. Steven comes over and he's like, all right, I got it. And so he took me to the guy and showed me where our seats would be. I showed him where you were, got you, and we moved further back.
And we're way back in the back of the VIP section, which is still the back of the VIP section is in the front of the general admission section, and it was pretty far back. Here's the thing though. Now, I'm not as cold. there's lots of human bodies between that freaking air and us.
Which was the goal.
But here's the thing. We sat in, like, if you could just imagine.
We sat in the let's not play full out section.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We were among non-participants.
Yes.
To get people riled up, they would play music and do this thing. And up front, it's like you're at a rock concert. And the energy is contagious. And people are getting, even if you didn't think that you wanted to get up and jump up and down or to play full out, you find yourself doing it just because that's
that's what everybody around you is doing.
Exactly.
That's the energy.
And it's easier for you, and it motivates you to play out full out as well. Not where we were sitting in these new seats. So, and by the way, it's still cold, but we don't have the Arctic air blasting on us.
Right.
But it's still
Which
very
is actually
cold.
what I said to the guy who took our seats. I said, I hope you enjoy the Arctic. It's very cold up here.
Yeah. So we're back here, and the guy that's sitting next to me, he is the lowest energy, least motivated person I've ever seen at any event ever. And I know people will know what I'm saying. I mean, it's not like I do drugs or anything, but the guy was killing my buzz. You know what I'm saying? It's like and it wasn't just him. It was 3 rows in front of us, like 5 people.
I didn't feel that. It must have just been around you, because there were plenty of people around me, and I was just to your immediate.
You were to the immediate right, and to your right, if you go 2 people over, then they were playing full out. But 2 people to your right, and then 3 rows in front of me, 2 rows behind me. I was in this little tiny pocket of area where everybody was just like, you know what?
And here's the
this
thing.
ain't for me.
I'm not going to argue with you on this, because I was not playing full out.
Right.
I was a non-participant that you were sitting next to.
Yep.
Being in the Arctic air, my brain was frozen.
Yep.
My
I was focused on the cold.
Yes. My right foot got so cold and was in so much pain, I could not think about anything else. Yep. I was focused on my foot. So what happens is I'm sitting there, I'm not playing full out. I know that I'm not, and I'm just not but I have a headache. Not only do I have a headache, it's getting worse. It's building in intensity. And there's the screaming, and there's the mosh pitting, and there, all of this stuff is happening. And I'm at a point where when my headaches get really bad and I see light or a light bulb, it sunburst all around it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Which when I'm at home and I can turn off the lights is not a big deal. So I'm sitting here, my head hurts. I literally feel like I'm crazy. I can't stop thinking about how much my foot hurts, but then I followed that up with how much my head hurts. And then they tell me to stand up and hug 5 people, and I'm like, I'm out.
Yep.
I'm out. I cannot hug another stranger. And I sent you a text message, which I retyped, because the first time I typed it, I said, will you be mad? And then I'm like, you know what? I don't care. And I erased it, and I said, I'm going to lay down.
Yep.
I'm going to go back, and my head is hurting. I'm not feeling well. And I'm going to go lay down. Yep. So for day 3, considering the fact that it went for 12 hours after I left, I was not there for half of the day.
Right.
And so I left on day 3, and I went back to take a nap, and I didn't come back. I walked back to our hotel. I had every intention of coming back.
Okay.
I woke up at like 8:30 p.m. And I'm like, oh, well, it's done at 10:30. It's crazy to go back now. That's what I thought.
Yep.
Right? That's what I thought. So I got up. I went down to the restaurant, and I got myself something to eat in the hotel restaurant. And you want to know what I did?
What?
I went back to bed.
Yep.
My body was so over exerted at that point.
Yep. So you leave around 1 something. I'm not mad, not upset that you left. I completely, gosh, if I were you, I would have left. I'm telling you right now, I could have left. Mostly because I'm still in this I'm just still in this.
Didn't you tell me that you thought about leaving?
Yeah, several times.
After I did?
Yeah. Several times I thought about leaving. It's like, listen, I could get out of here. I could cancel my order from Apple that's delivering my iPad Pro to the house, and we could go over to Apple and pick up my iPad Pro. It's like that, forget this. But the thing is, I promised I would.
Right.
I made this commitment. I would do this event, and I'm not going to do it. But at the same time, I'm really hating this experience right now. and hate is a strong word. I mean it. I'm hating the experience from 8 o'clock. Actually, I got there at 7.
Yep.
And so, but to get those seats, 7 o'clock in the morning, you leave at 1. I'm literally hating this experience. I'm getting nothing out of it. Now, I probably shouldn't say this, but I took my Roland recorder, and one of the reasons why I did not leave is because I didn't want to leave my bag there, but inside my bag is my Roland recorder. I recorded every single session of every day. I have 50, this, by the way, by the end of this, 50 hours of conference, 50 hours in 4 days. That's how long we were there. All right. So that may be an exaggeration.
No, that's what they said.
Is that what it says? Okay. So 50 hours of this event, I recorded all 50 hours. And the main reason why I didn't leave, even though I am so not in this, I know I said I'd play full out, but this is not a good experience right now. And so the reason why I stayed is because I wanted the recorder to continue to go. And I figure eventually when I get back home, I'm going to come back and I will go through the workbook and I will listen to everything that happened and I will go through it, then. But this is too freaking cold. And these people that I'm sitting around, this is the worst place I could possibly be sitting right now. This is just horrible. And I'm like, whatever. And so I'm at one point, I'd say about 4 o'clock, I just leave my bag there, recorder still going, and I just go walk the halls. I'm walking the hall outside. I walk outside, get a little warm sun there, a little warm 101 degree weather, and walk back into the Arctic. And then, I finally go back in and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm just not in it. And then a friend of ours, I didn't get permission to share what he wrote, so I'm not going to say who this friend is, but a friend of ours texted me, and I'm going to share with you what he said. Okay, Saturday, 5:21 p.m. How is UPW going? All right. I said, day 1 was incredible in all capital letters. Loved the firewalk. Day 2 was mostly awesome. Awesome being in all capital letters. Today started rough. I got here before the doors opened and got front row seats, but it felt like it was 50 degrees in here, and they had 6 massive AC vents blowing Arctic air with wind gusts of 25 to 30 miles per hour. I said, our hands were turning blue even with gloves on. He goes, dang, I should have warned you that Tony likes it cold, ! I said, Stephanie left our seats to go off to the side. We ended up trading our front row seats to a very back of the VIP session. He goes, oh man. I said, I'm in the middle of a crowd of non-participants. And I said, Stephanie left to go back to the hotel to sleep. I'm here, but I'm not quote unquote in it. And he says, make your move. Now, I'm not going to explain to you guys what make your move is about, but he says, make your move. And I just gave him a little wink eye emoticon. And I said, I'm watching people do something ridiculous. I won't tell you guys what it is, but they were doing something ridiculous. And he says, seriously, Cliff, do what it takes to get into it. This will be a game changer for you. Tomorrow is the best day of all. Now, he's telling me on day 3 that tomorrow is the best day of all. He says, I'll tell you some more stories later. And I said, I'll do it. Now, this is a friend who I look up to very highly. And when he says, Cliff, do this, man. I'm telling you, this is going to be a game changer. Do this. Get involved. And I said, I'll do it. He says, good. And I said, I'm moving to a location up front. He says, good. Play full out. Be a thermostat, not a thermometer. All right? So at 7:44, and by the way, I did move up, and I found myself a front row seat on the other side.
Away from the air vents.
Yeah, on the opposite side where there were no air vents. So I'm now back in the front row, and guess what? Changes everything. I'm now in a crowd of participants, people playing full out, and I played full out as well. And partly because this friend of mine reminded me that, hey, do this, trust me. And so at 7:44, I texted him back and I said, I played full out for the past hour and 20 minutes. They're taking a dinner break now. Funny thing, it's a bit warm in here. He says, good for you, I'm proud of you. And then on Sunday at 8:30 in the evening, which is right after we've wrapped up, he says, how's your experience been today? And I said, how to answer. And by the way, before we go into day 4, which I just started to, let me tell you that once I moved up front, once I told this friend that I was going to do this and I did it and I get it, it instantly changed everything. And again, I'm in complete control of my emotional state. I can be in this if I want to and choose to, in spite of how cold it is. I need to do things to make it happen. And I made a decision and I did. And it changed everything. I feel bad for missing all of those hours of content, allowing myself to focus on what I didn't like. But I figured, forget that. I'm going to play out for the rest of the evening, full out. And so I did. And man, did we have an awesome time. And here's the deal. I got there at 7 o'clock in the morning. Day 3 ended at 1:45 a.m. And I will tell you from when I moved up 6 o'clock or whatever, when I moved up to the front, all the way from then until 1:45 in the morning, I was jumping up and down. I was having the best time of my life. I was up there dancing. And guys, I don't dance, but I was dancing. I was having the most incredible time. And if you ask me day 3 to rate it between a 1 and 10 up till, let's just say 5 o'clock, until 5:40, between 7 a.m. to 5:40, day 3, if I rate that, it was a negative 100. It was a terrible experience most of that day. But from when I moved up to the front until 1:45, it instantly went back to a 10. Instantly. And I'm like, wow, I wish it wasn't so cold. I wish we would have had these seats over here instead of over there. And I think that would have changed everything. But it is what it is. We can't change it. I'm not upset. This is just the way it is. And I'm glad that I was here for it. And what I experienced until 1:45 in the morning was just something that was just incredible. And so I was able to overlook the others because it was outweighed by what I experienced the rest of the evening. This friend of mine says, dude, you need to get into this. He goes, by the way, tomorrow is the best day of the event. It's total game changer day. So he was saying that day 4, Sunday, would be that. Well, I tell you that, and we go there, and day 4, Tony's not there because Tony does videos, and to protect his voice, he only does 2 of the days of the event. And so there's a lot of video playback, and the energy during video playback is not the same as having somebody live on stage. I wish they would actually have Joseph McClendon III actually teach the materials rather than just play videos. But it was kind of a little awkward, and just being authentic and telling you guys flat out how it is. Day 4, and here's the thing, it was all health and fitness day. And it's all things that you and I have been learning pretty much over the last 19 months, and actually even before that.
Right.
So, and by the way, don't get me wrong, there is lots of valuable information and insights that day that are incredible. But the way it was delivered, the fact that it was very low energy day, even the jump up and get excited, it's like, you know what? I will just say this. There's one word that I can give you from halfway through the day, like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the final day, the 4th day, I'm like, is this over yet? It's like, how many more hours do we have to go?
And we didn't even start until like 12:30.
And the thing is I'm ready to leave right now. It's like, but I decided I'm not leaving because this person that texted me says, this is the day. It's the best day of the event. And I'm like, okay, so it must be the next segment that's going to be the best thing. Maybe it's the next thing. Maybe they're saving the best for last. And I'm like, nope. This is all, I was just burned out. At the end of the evening, the 4th day, supposedly the best day of the event, he says, how's your experience been today? And I said, how to answer. Overall, great experience. Today was my least favorite day. Great information, but so much that we'd been working on already over the past 19 months. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd rate my overall experience for the 4 days a 7. Day 4 and the first part of day 3 took this conference from a 10 down to a 7. In the moment, as at the end of the event, it had gone down to a 7. All right, that's how I was feeling. Quite honestly, when I wrote these words, if you were to ask me to take one phrase and tell you what I was feeling, burned out.
Yes.
Fried. My head can't take any more. And the biggest problem was just how boring the actual way that the final day was done with the videos. It's just like, you are not keeping my attention. You guys aren't doing the energy thing that you had the first 3 days. It wasn't because it was cold. It was the right temperature that day because they took out those air vents because Tony wasn't there that day. Anyway, he says, I'll be interested in learning more. He goes, I was confused on the schedule. I thought it was the third day and tomorrow was the last day. Day 4 was my least favorite too, he says. I'm like, now you tell me. Oh, man. But you know what? I'm glad we didn't leave. I have the recording of, the thing is, here's what I can tell you. I wish they either would have had Joseph McClendon III teach all the material instead of playing us videos, or just let us go a day home a day early, send us all home with DVDs so we can watch those videos in our living room.
Yeah.
It would have been zero difference.
Yes.
None. Nada. So here's what I can tell you is at the end of day 4, overall, if you asked me then, what do I rate this conference? I would tell you it was a 7. And the reason I know that is because this friend of mine asked me, and so here's the thing. We got back Monday. What is today?
Wednesday.
So it's Wednesday evening. We've been back for a couple days. I'm still very motivated, very pumped up. I have more notes than you guys could possibly imagine, things that are life-changing, thoughts of how I'm going to start processing experiences in life moving forward. It's just incredible. And now that I'm a couple days away from it, I can tell you with full certainty, I give the entire 4 days worth of the event probably a 9 rating. A 9 rating. I understand why they did what they did on the final day. The cold air, if I didn't sit in the front row or if I would have been on the other side, I probably wouldn't have that. They can't, that's not their fault. That was just how things went. But here's what I can say is that overall, I rated a 9. Would I go back again? If you asked me there, while I was there, I would say no. This is all I needed. Would I go now? Now that I'm back, would I ever go back to Unleash the Power Within again in the future? And the answer is probably. And the reason why is because there's something about being in that room and hearing it and the energy and just being reminded of these things. Just in case down the road, I allow myself to forget about some of these valuable things that I definitely know to be true and have experienced before, but didn't have language until now, and focus. And sometimes you get this thing and it's like, this stuff, but you're no longer thinking about it. And I could see where it could be valuable 2-3 years down the road to go back and just be reminded of these things. Anyway, that's mine. I don't know. Now that you've been back, how would you rate the overall 4-day experience? And be honest, just share whatever you think.
I still think my overall experience is like at a 7.5. That's my experience. That includes the not feeling well. The first 2 days were absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing for me. The last 2 days were a serious struggle. The information on day 4, which is an enormous amount of info. You could cover the information you cover on day 4
in a 4-day conference. Would you recommend this event to other people?
Yes, I would recommend this conference to other people. Yes, I would tell them to play full out.
Tell them to dress warm, many layers of clothes.
Yes, for that day. For just
take them every day just in case.
Yes, you be prepared. If I ever went back, I'll take a blanket. I kept thinking how wonderful a Snuggie would be. I would probably go back and do another one myself, but I wouldn't go to day 4.
Okay. That makes complete sense.
I would just skip out
and
on
by
day
the
4
way,
altogether.
If you are not completely 100% convinced that you're definitely in a positive momentum moving forward in health and fitness, then you need day 4. You need day 4.
Right.
Trust me. Now, here's what I would like to ask you. In the middle of day 1, you're like, dude, we need to bring our kids to this.
Yes.
So I want to ask you, not any time later this year or maybe even not next year, but
because it's a huge financial commitment.
It is a huge financial commitment, which, by the way, we could probably get for free, all 5 of us.
Okay.
And the reason why, by the way, if anybody's listening and you're thinking you want to go to a Tony Robbins event, any of them, please consider contacting me first. I have a personal contact within the Tony Robbins organization, And I think for every 5 people I refer, we get 1 free ticket for our family.
Okay.
So if what is that, 25 people?
Mm-hmm.
So if 25 people go through me to sign up for any Tony Robbins event,
then we could all 5
then
go.
all 5 of us would go for free.
Okay.
So the question is, what do you think, now that we're back and we're out, we've talked about everything, do you still think this is something we should take our kids to?
Absolutely.
That's why I thought so too.
Absolutely. The things that we learned on the first 2 days, the things that I know that you came away with on day 3 are things that I want them to start their life with.
Yeah.
Not things that I want them to figure out halfway through. It is incredible information. It's something that I want them to take in for themselves, not something that I just want them to, well, Mom's saying I have to do that, so I have to do that.
Right.
I want them to see it. I want them to feel it.
I want them to see other people experiencing it.
We came home on Monday. Megan picked us up from the airport, which... Is that not like a super cool thing?
Yeah.
Our own kid dropped us off and picked us up from the airport.
Our daughter just got her license, if you guys are wondering.
We spent probably, 45 minutes in one place. We were all in one place talking. Our kids are convinced. You cannot convince our kids that we went to a conference. They think we went to a rager.
Yeah, they watched my Snapchat story.
They watched Cliff's Snapchat with all of the jumping and all of the mosh pitting, and they're like, y'all didn't learn anything. You went to a rager and you came back hippies.
Yep.
This is what's going on. And I want to take them to a rager and bring them back hippies. It's just as simple as that.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
So, yes, absolutely.
There you go. So, folks, you were wondering.
And yes, I would let my children walk on fire if they chose to.
Yeah,
but I would not force them.
Would not force them, but absolutely
There
would.
was a 6-year-old girl.
That yes, I'm glad you brought that up. I was just thinking we need to bring that up before we.
There was a 6-year-old girl who did in fact come with her parents. There were a lot of children there.
Lots of children.
There were actually a lot of children there.
And by the way, no children got burned.
No, none.
But
I think because they have the power to do it more than we do.
Yeah.
They have less conditioning than we do.
Oh, conditioning! I love the segment or the
which I think is day 1.
Yeah, day 1 was about conditioning. Oh my gosh!
But so there's the most adorable little 6-year-old girl missing her front teeth, telling Tony, "I walked across the fire and I did not get burned."
Yeah.
So yes, if our children wanted to, yes, but I would not make them.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
I would just say, you just stand over there and you watch me be a bad because I know I can walk on fire.
Nice. Everybody was asking, Cliff, tell us about your experience. Are you going to tell us about your experience? I want to hear Stephanie's point of view as well. And I'm like, yeah, Stephanie says she's coming on the show. So thank you so much, Stephanie, for coming and playing full out here. I know it's late at night now. It's already 11:42 as we're recording this. That's way past her bedtime. Thank you so much for going. Even though you didn't want to go, you weren't looking for it. You thought I was crazy once I started talking about fire and coals and walking on top of them. And
Man, the crazy didn't start there.
Yeah, well,
we're good. I know what you're trying to say.
But I really appreciate you. And thank you for joining me in a podcast as a hobby. What was that, 10 and a half years ago, something like that?
Yeah.
It's something crazy. But I love you, and I'm so thankful that we did experience this together. It would not be the same if I would have gone and had this experience and to come home and you had not had it with me.
I agree.
That would have been
honestly,
a massive detriment.
I wonder how people do that, because that would be very difficult.
I agree. And so if you're hearing my voice and you're thinking about going, take your spouse if you're married. Trust us. Take your spouse and have them listen to this episode, especially if they're not into it. Hopefully this episode will convince you. And we're not saying any of this so that we can get free tickets and stuff like that. That's not why we created this episode. But if you do decide you want to go to any Tony Robbins event, if you email me, cliff@podcastanswerman.com, I will personally connect you to my person there. And like I said, number one, you'll get a discount off the price through my contact. And for every 5 people we refer, we'll get a free ticket for our family. So I would appreciate that if you do consider us. But that's it. Just real quick, my next session of Podcasting A to Z is just a month away. It starts on August 1st, and I already have a few students who have filled a couple seats. I am going to open this up to 30 students this time, so if you've been waiting to get in, August is going to be a great month to get your podcast launched, and the summer is wrapped up and you're no longer traveling, hopefully. So how about joining me and getting that podcast launched, especially for those of you who have been thinking about doing it for months. Some of you who have been on the fence about creating a podcast for years. It's time to step up and take that first step and allow me to be your coach for 4 weeks, your personal coach, walking you through every single step in the process. If you want to learn more, head over to podcastinga2z.com. And Stephanie and I end our podcast that we do, Family from the Heart, a specific way. And I'm going to ask her to help me close it out and say, until next time, we encourage you to
live your life with purpose.